Hello everyone, this is part 1 of What If Naruto was sent on a mission and an accident happened. This story is made by Flammabellum, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist. To see more, comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. The rain fell heavily all around, and though it was already midnight, the surroundings seemed darker than they should be, as if collaborating with the mood of the people inside the house, whose light flickered oddly as if trying in vain to ward off the pressing shadows of the night outside. The house was also oddly silent, though there were 4 people present. Perhaps the silence was their way of showing their nerves. Jiraiya kept throwing anxious looks on both the small calendar and clock on Tsunade's desk, sometimes even glaring at it as if trying to dare time to go even faster. It was Sunday, October 10th, an hour and 20 minutes to midnight to be exact. But it wasn't just Jiraiya who kept glaring at anything that seemed to represent time, for a certain Hatake Kakashi was also doing the same through his normal eye. He leant on the wall across the room, arms folded across his chest like what he normally does, his mouth clamped shut. Kakashi's uneasiness could be seen on the beads of sweat that bedewed his temples. It was strange because the storm only worsened the cold. 1 hour and 19 minutes. Tsunade announced to the room at large. Shizune stood up, unable to hold her anxiety any longer. Tun snorted anxiously in her arms. Tsunade-sama, this idea was bad from the start. You can't possibly hope Naruto will be able to. Shut up and take your seat. Tsunade snapped. Shizune swallowed painfully and landed back down onto the red couch, hugging Tun closer to her. Kakashi thought she was close to tears. You know nothing about that boy, so you stop judging him. Jiraiya shot up now, and started to resume his pacing, his hands behind him. His bristly white hair swished violently behind him, displaying his uneasiness. You should tell that to yourself, Tsunade. You don't know anything about the boy. If there are 2 people who know Naruto best in this room, it is Kakashi and I. Why you had to send him on this stupid mission, and all alone? Naruto will come back, Tsunade said curtly. She took a sidelong glance onto her desk clock. 1 hour and 15 minutes. Kakashi did not say anything, but he closed his eyes. If Naruto doesn't come back, I will personally search for him, even if I have to wage war on the sound by myself. Coming to this decision, the Junin nodded quietly to himself. He knew it was useless to voice out his thoughts. The Godime will just snap at him, or perhaps she'd crack. Now he wouldn't want that to happen. Naruto, damn you, how am I supposed to tell Sasuke and Sakura? Honestly, Tsunade, said Jiraiya, breaking the silence. Do you honestly think a Junin like Naruto, and all alone at that, will be able to catch Orochimaru? Have you gone mad? The woman finally cracked, and Kakashi winced and braced himself for the sound of slipper coming in contact with a human face. Nothing happened, so Kakashi decided to open his normal eye and take a peek. Tsunade was standing behind her desk, glaring at Jiraiya. She would have represented a bristling cat perfectly. Or a very angry slug. I trust that boy with my life. I am sure he will succeed. Tsunade spoke in a voice of forced calm. Shizune finally gave into the pressure and started to sob into Tun's back. Kakashi transferred his gaze to the raging storm outside. It had been a month since Tsunade sent Naruto to try capture Orochimaru single-handed. A month with virtually no communication whatsoever. Kakashi may never understand why until he does, but that was the least of his worries. Neji, Shikamaru, Kiba, Sasuke and the others were all clamoring for news of Naruto. Naturally they didn't know he was sent on this mission, but it would only be a matter of time before they turn into an angry mob with Sasuke in the lead and storm Tsunade's office. He will arrive on the appointed time. I am sure, Tsunade declared in a defeated voice. She slid back onto her swivel chair. And if he doesn't, she hung her head. The minutes passed by in a frightening pace Kakashi wouldn't have imagined possible. But he always believed that time knew its tricks. When you wanted it to slow down it'd annoy you and go doubly fast, and when you wanted it to go fast it'd slow down enough to shame a snail and a porpoise in one go. Kakashi kept his eyes to the dark gloom outside, trying to squint through the thumbnail-sized raindrops falling from the sky. Naruto, come on, damn you. Nobody will blame you if you fail. 59 seconds. Tsunade announced in a faint voice. Kakashi finally left his patch of wall and started tapping his foot impatiently. Jiraiya buried his face in his hands. Shizune stood up and left the room crying. 20, 15, 10. Tsunade made a choking sound. The sudden tolling of the midnight hour came as a shock. Jiraiya gave a deep sigh. Kakashi ran to the doors and threw them wide open, unmindful of the rain that now slicked his clothes. The dark was so thick, maybe he just couldn't see. There, something moved. That might be Naruto. But no, it was just a peddler trying to flee from the rain. The midnight hour passed like a nightmare. It was now 12:15, and still no Naruto. Kakashi clenched his hands into fists and was just about to run outside when. Wait, he said suddenly. Tsunade and Jiraiya looked up. Light, please, a lamp, anything. Hurry and put your at it. It was Tsunade who moved, unnerved. She quickly lit a waterproof lamp and handed it to Kakashi, who thrust it into the night and rain, holding it above his head. Tsunade gasped and clapped her hands to her mouth. Jiraiya squeezed in between her and Kakashi, eyes wide. Naruto was walking toward them, looking alive, but there was an awful lot of bandages on his head. He was carrying something. Jiraiya gave a disbelieving as he recognized the pale flesh. Naruto was smirking smugly as he finally came to a halt before them. He carefully deposited his package onto the wet ground. It didn't move. Naruto planted his left hand onto his hip before extending out his right to a thumbs up. Mission success, he declared. Tsunade slowly lowered her hands. She was crying as she hugged Naruto. Damn you, moron. You're late and you had us all worried. What happened to you? Hey, we had trouble along the way. Naruto answered sheepishly. She did put up an amazing fight, but she realized what the link could do and tugged along sulkily. Jiraiya frowned. What do you mean? Naruto nodded toward the bundle on the ground. Kakashi stepped forward and turned it around. Gasps came from both Tsunade and Jiraiya. It was a pale woman, with long, sleek black hair. Her black kimono clung to her body suggestively, and in spite of himself, Jiraiya felt something trickle down his nose. It was a moment before Kakashi spoke because he had to unstick his throat. Naruto, who is this? Naruto didn't reply. He disentangled himself from Tsunade's arms and punched himself. There was a shrill shriek as the woman snapped out of her sleep and jerked up, clutching her nose. Realizing she was somewhere she wasn't supposed to be, she looked up at Kakashi, Tsunade and Jiraiya, and realizing who they were, hissed like an agitated snake before leaping to her feet. You, she hissed, pointing at them all with a bandaged hand. Tsunade would have to die 100 times before forgetting that hissing accent. Oh gods, it can't be. Orochimaru, is that you? Jiraiya simply gaped, and Kakashi did not notice his mask drop as a heap around his neck. The pale woman suddenly colored. Don't gape at me like that, Tsunade. Orochimaru yelled. And you, Jiraiya. And then he recognized Jiraiya's look, and immediately hoisted up the kimono over his shoulder. Kakashi, Jiraiya and Tsunade turned to Naruto. The blonde only cackled and ran a hand through his hair again. Well, it was the only thing I could do, besides the link. Naruto stammered. I was dying and I didn't have time to think. Tsunade looked like she had been punched in the gut. She looked at Naruto's nose, and then onto Orochimaru's own nose. The Godime repeated this process. Naruto, Orochimaru. Naruto, Orochimaru, she gasped. Naruto, you idiot. You linked with him. She burst out. What? Jiraiya said in outrage. What? The frog hermit walked toward Naruto and as expected, Orochimaru's reaction was immediate. An invisible fist hit her, or him, whatever, on the head, and her hair loosened from its messy style and spread around her before she fell unconscious onto the mud. Naruto, however, did not lose unconsciousness, he only swayed on his feet. We are in a serious S. Jiraiya nodded. Tsunade kneeled before Naruto. She was crying and laughing at the same time. Naruto, how will we Orochimaru if he's linked with you? Do you know what the chakra link does? You two are bound together for life. If we Orochimaru, you will also die. Naruto's blue eyes widened. Oh no, I didn't think of that. Kakashi, he seriously needed some pain. The place where Naruto finally tackled Orochimaru in the country of sound was a total wreck after the battle. What had once been a lush patch of forest had been reduced to a barren wasteland that would very much be at home in the country of sand. Gaara would be very happy with the huge mounds of sand, if ever he'd know and come anyway. A lone soul was currently standing in the middle of the wreck, a certain bespectacled medic, who goes by the name of Yakushi Kabuto. Kabuto was silent as he paced around the wasteland, as he was wont to think out loud. He could not understand, and probably never will, how a moron like Naruto ever managed to capture his master. He could vividly remember the battle, all its details before he got incapacitated by a blast of Rasengan. There was fire, he could remember that very well, fire that was devouring the fallen coniferous trees. The smoke was terrible, so Kabuto had had to let his imagination go wild because he could not see a thing, as his face was squashed against the ground. Orochimaru was silent, of course. Naruto was the one who screamed like there was no tomorrow. Kabuto was sure the brat was dying finally and they would be rid of a pain in the until he heard Orochimaru scream in turn. Now what bothered him was that his master screamed as if he had been chased by the Sandaim's ghost. Kabuto wished he could have seen what happened, but then the voice changed into that of a woman's, and Naruto was cackling. And after that, silence. It took 48 hours for help to find Kabuto, and when he was back on his feet again, the first thing he found was a huge frog doll that was sneering at him. Naruto and Orochimaru were nowhere to be seen. It would have been better if Kimimaro and the others were still alive, but Kabuto was alone and weak. The medic cursed long and soundly before kicking the sand. He clenched his hands into fists. I will kill you, Uzumaki Naruto, even if it's the last thing I do. Naruto looked up expectantly as a knock came on the door, and he leapt up and opened it. Finally the delivery from Ichiraki Ramen House had arrived, and soon it stood up to pay for 10 bowls of miso ramen just for Naruto. Naruto took the food inside, laid it on the table and started tackling the first bowl he could reach, unmindful of the disbelieving looks that Kakashi, Jiraiya, Shizune and Tsunade gave him. You don't seem to be bothered at all, Kakashi commented as he watched Naruto reach for a second bowl. Naruto shook his head. I'm sure you will find a way, right? Jiraiya and Tsunade exchanged exasperated looks. Kakashi leant forward. Thing is, Naruto, nobody has yet performed the chakra link technique since Yondaime. And even then he had been inventing it. All we know of the notes he left us is that he realized how hard it is to break a chakra link, so he never went on with his experiment. He hasn't found a solution, and what makes you think we'd find one? Said Kakashi. There was a moan, and everybody's eyes swiveled onto Orochimaru. The woman, Tsunade shuddered at the mere thought, sat up, clutching her head. There were spots of dark red on her bandaged hands, and Tsunade had had to chew the inside of her cheek to prevent herself from throwing up a diatribe. Shizune eyed Orochimaru fearfully, and she even inched closer to Kakashi as if the serpent would attack her anytime. Can I have one? Orochimaru asked Naruto. I'm hungry. Naruto nodded and pushed a bowl toward her. Orochimaru took a pair of chopsticks and tried to eat, but every time she tried to pinch the sticks together to pick up some noodles, her hand would tremble uncontrollably. The sticks slipped out of her grip and fell to the floor. She sighed in a defeated way. You can't help me, can you? She said, turning to Naruto again. Only when I'm done. Naruto answered. That seemed good enough for Orochimaru, who contented herself by sipping the soup directly from the bowl. Tsunade folded her arms beneath her bee and glared at other women. And I don't see you worried at all, she said sourly. Orochimaru ignored her. Jiraiya grinned and sat down beside the raven-haired woman. You know, I really think you look. But he wasn't able to finish whatever remark he wanted to say, because Orochimaru's left fist. Don't even think about it. Orochimaru hissed coldly before resuming. Can anyone bother to explain how Naruto accomplished this all? Shizune piped up. I don't want to hear the details, Kakashi shrugged. What I want to know is what the link does. Tsunade nodded in agreement. Naruto and Orochimaru looked at each other. Tsunade could not help but feel afraid at the way the two seemed to be cooperating. Could that be an effect of the link? They start to like each other. Heaven forbid, she can't allow it to come to that. Moreover, Kakashi was right. Naruto captured the bastard, and they should all be worrying about severing the link. You explain, Orochimaru said bitterly. Since I don't understand it myself. Naruto scratched his nose. He looked lost. You can begin where you captured me. Orochimaru snapped irritably. Well, said Naruto, choosing his words carefully. She was about to K me. I didn't have enough chakra left. I was so desperate, I didn't want to die before I even became Hokage. Orochimaru snorted with disgust and Tsunade glared at her. Then I remembered something I read from a notebook 3 days before I was sent on the mission. It didn't require much chakra, and then I was hard put. I gathered whatever was left in me, and had to rely on memory from then on. Said shaped the chakra as a string, and that's what I did. He shrugged and drank down some soup. And then she started screaming. No, she was a he then, and he let go of me. You performed the linking, out of despair. Tsunade said faintly as her hand flew to her head. Yeah, I guess. Naruto replied uncertainly. You overtly stupid boy. Jiraiya yelled in frustration. You make Kakashi and I look like idiots. What have you learned from us? He made Teres but Orochimaru moved swiftly and kicked him in the face. Tsunade stood up, eyes ablaze. I won't let you harm the boy, Orochimaru said icily. If you so much as threaten him, I will K you. I don't understand. Shizune piped up. Why is Orochimaru protecting Naruto? Orochimaru tossed her head in agitation. Oh, you want to know what the link does? Well, for your information, whatever happens to Naruto happens to me. Punch him and I get punched, strangle him and I suffocate. Whatever happens to Naruto will happen to me 3 times in magnitude. And on a happier note, we can't go farther than 50 meters from each other because the link snaps like a rubber band. What a very happy fate we have, don't you think? Tsunade could feel her jaw dropping yet again. She clutched her head again. Thinking was hard because her head wanted to burst open. A reflection, this link reflects whatever happens to the doer. She looked at Naruto and Orochimaru. What else do you share through this link? Naruto, can you in turn feel whatever happens to Orochimaru? How about thoughts and emotions? The link is one-sided, I think. Naruto shrugged. I don't feel anything. But I don't agree with the idea. I might still die. He added fearfully. True, we cannot take that risk. Kakashi agreed. Jiraiya got up from the floor, clutching his swollen nose. But this gives us a new set of problems. I am sure the sound is searching for their master. We cannot let the sound have both Naruto and Orochimaru. We must research and find a way to sever the link while keeping their whereabouts secret. And we cannot simply allow the news of their link to leak out. The other countries will see this as treachery. Tsunade. He shot the godime a meaningful look. Orochimaru was struck with a thought. Kabuto must know of my present condition. It will be a race to whoever severs the link first, Tsunade or him. If Konoha wins this race, then I'm. We need a place only the 4 of us knows. Shizune suggested. Tsunade stood up and started pacing around the room. I will try find a way to break this link of yours. But I cannot say how long it will take. But I have decided that for everybody's welfare as well as yourselves, you, Naruto and Orochimaru, must stay in hiding until we finally find a solution. This is my decision. But to where? Kakashi asked. Might I remind Godime that Neji and the others are itching for news of Naruto? Tsunade waved a hand. I know. We can keep them distracted enough to go on with the research undisturbed. That will be your job, Hitaki Kakashi. Kakashi blinked. Shizune, you will help me with the task of finding a solution. Do not let Haruno Sakura know anything whatsoever. I will take care of her. Shizune nodded slowly. Jiraiya, you will take Naruto and Orochimaru to my estate far southwest, deep in the jungles. That will be the perfect place for them. Nobody knows that place except us 4, and the villagers are blissfully ignorant of the happenings in Greater Konoha. Jiraiya grinned. I like the arrangement. Might I also volunteer to remain with them until the research is over? They'll need my protection, and writing my new novel will be very good in such a, peaceful place. I object. Orochimaru snapped as she hugged her kimono tighter over her body. You can't seriously let this idiot do that job. We could do better with Kakashi-sensei, I think. Naruto added with a very annoying cackle. Jiraiya frowned. I am higher ranking than Kakashi, am older and wiser. Do you two honestly think he alone can defend you if some unwanted people find out about your whereabouts? Some people like, let's see, Uchiha Itachi. Orochimaru's knuckles went whiter, if possible. Naruto choked on a piece of barbecue. He's right. Kakashi nodded. You two won't be able to defend yourselves properly. Jiraiya is the best person for this. Ah, I am glad you realize that, Kakashi. Jiraiya declared triumphantly. The first autographed copy of my new novel for you. Kakashi beamed, and Naruto shook his head in disbelief. So that is settled, Tsunade said in a final sort of voice. She frowned at Orochimaru. Before we all forget, how did you end up like that anyway? But Orochimaru only rolled her eyes and refused to answer. Naruto laughed. Well, when I managed to link with her, I had to think of a nice way to sneak out of the sound unhampered. Since she couldn't do the hand seals for the jutsu herself, I did it for her. She did pummel me a lot, but thanks to the link, she desisted. There was a flash of teeth. I just have to say that you look beautiful, Orochimaru. Jiraiya smirked, and he had to dodge a flying kunai for that comment. I wonder how pretty the rest of you are under that dress. This time he did not manage to evade AK. Tsunade sighed. Naruto, I can never understand how you made it into Junin rank with that kind of thinking. Be more careful in the future, though I know this warning just tends to bounce off your skull. Jiraiya, I want the three of you 8 miles out of this city first thing in the morning. Do you understand me? Jiraiya nodded confidently, and Orochimaru spared him a glare. I might drop a visit every now and then to give you details on our research. Naruto nodded resolutely. Right. And then he felt a tug on his sleeve, and he turned to see Orochimaru looking at him with a raised eyebrow. Oh, yeah, I forgot. He picked up his chopsticks and started to help Orochimaru with the noodles. Open wide. You know, said Shizune. That just looks so wrong. Hyuga Neji lifted his gaze from his empty udon bowl and looked around the isolated village Sasuke had sent him to. Neji frowned, glared at the tiny piece of celery that remained of his meal. There was practically nothing in this village. Why on earth would Sasuke send him here when he could be searching through other worthy places? The white-eyed Junin gave an annoyed huff as he pulled a bill from his purse and left the food stall, shoving his hands into his pockets. Like Naruto would be strolling around here, really. Neji muttered to himself as he walked down the street, his Byakugan working, giving him all-around vision without the need to turn his head this way and that. He'd likely be hopping around in the Mist Country or whatever godforsaken place it is. Heck, you can't even buy a kunai in these parts. He gave another frustrated sigh. It had been a month since Naruto vanished. It could have been another special training, but then, why would he fail to give news to his friends? They tried asking Godime for help, she also said she would, but every time Sasuke went to ask for details, all they got was nonsensical answers. And then Shikamaru decided that they should take the matter into their own hands. It was hard, especially with Shikamaru and Sasuke having their own teams to teach now, so Neji, Kiba and Chuji had to take turns going to places around Konoha. Neji found a bench and sat down moodily. Blasted piece of godforsaken land with nothing in it except mushrooms. He grunted in annoyance as he messed up his hair with his hand. Orochimaru had barely reclosed his, he still views himself as a guy, no matter how his anatomy changed drastically, eyes to take whatever sleep there was, when he was roused by Naruto. He wasn't given a chance for a well-deserved nap. He and Naruto had been awake for 4 days straight since re-entering the border of Konoha. Grumpily, he sat up and took the piece of stick Naruto had given him days ago from his sleeve, and in one swift and deft movement gathered his sleek hair into a nice twist at the back of his head. Naruto knelt before him and wordlessly started to remove the sodden bandages on his hands to change it for fresh ones. When was the last we changed your bandages? Naruto inquired. I don't know. He answered shortly. Your hands look worse. Naruto frowned thoughtfully. Orochimaru stopped himself from retorting, and instead watched how Naruto cleaned his hands in annoyed silence. The brat had always been like this since he had been kidnapped. He seemed to take it as a personal mission to take care of him and his hands. Orochimaru could not understand why Naruto was taking his time and even bothering with his hands, but then, the brat gave him a very surprising answer. You wouldn't want it to be infected, was what Naruto said. And he did pout exceedingly whenever refused with the honor of cleaning and changing bandages. Does it hurt? Naruto asked as he dabbed some clear liquid on the dark, rotting flesh. The concoction hissed and frothed madly. Well. No, he snapped. Hurry up, will you? Jiraiya was watching the proceedings with amusement and disbelief on his face. Oi. Naruto, I can't understand why you're bothering with cleaning and dressing up Oh-chan's hands. Sandai made sure her hands will never heal. All of that's useless. Just because. Naruto replied. He reached for a fresh roll of bandages from the medical kit Shizune gave him, and started the meticulous and slow process of re-wrapping Orochimaru's hands and arms. Jiraiya found himself giving a long breath. Naruto, you're too damn nice for your own good. If it were me, I would have kicked his hands and spat on his face. Why are you doing all this? Are you thinking of changing Orochimaru? It's too late to do that. He won't change, no matter what kindness you show him. Just like your father. There, we're finished, Naruto said happily as he stood up. Orochimaru wordlessly flexed his hands and stood up as well. Jiraiya walked behind him and secured a blindfold over his eyes. And then the frog hermit turned to Naruto and asked him to change his appearance, an order which the Junin obeyed. It's no use blindfolding me, I know where we're going. Orochimaru smiled. Do you honestly think isolating me will keep Kabuto and the rest of my village from finding me? It was stupid to discuss the house in front of me in the first place. You could have put cork in my ears. Jiraiya frowned, and had Orochimaru been in his original form, however, his position behind Oh-chan. The perverted hermit smiled inwardly to himself as he pretended to check the blindfold for any loose spots, when in fact he was just feasting his eyes on the snowy view. It would have been a nicer view when this happened to you when we were younger, Oh-chan, Jiraiya cackled inside his own head. And I must say that if Sandaime were alive still. Naruto surveyed himself in front of the mirror, disgusted. I look like Shikamaru. He poked his nose. And my nose is too flat. Then he lifted his gaze and saw just exactly what Jiraiya was doing, and he coughed. Jiraiya jumped and surreptitiously cleared his throat and stepped away from Orochimaru. Right, we're going now, Jiraiya announced. He led the way out of the room, followed by Naruto and finally Orochimaru, who had his right hand clamped tightly onto Naruto's shoulder. Uchiha Sasuke was getting more and more frustrated with each passing day. He scratched his nose and cast a furtive look around the greenery surrounding him, and he sneered. You'd have to move more silently than that if you want my bells, he thought. Konohamaru and his teammates thought they were good enough in concealment, but they were sorely wrong. Sasuke could point them out even if they were a mile away. Sasuke sighed and looked at the pair of bells tied tightly onto the index finger of his right hand. He smiled faintly as he remembered the not-so-far-away time when he had been a genin with Sakura and Naruto. Hitaki Kakashi had given him the same training. He chuckled lightly as he remembered Naruto's face when he got tied onto the same log Sasuke was crouching on now. The raven-haired young man sighed some more and tried to remember the reports given by Chuji and Kiba. Neji still had not sent back any news regarding their own private search for Naruto. Sasuke was getting slightly worried. Naruto missing was one thing, and if Neji vanished as well, he would have loved to storm Godime right now and yell at her until she got annoyed, but that was just not his way. Naruto-ness rubbing off him. Right side, kunai approaching. Sasuke did not even blink as he tilted his head backward to avoid the kunai thrown at him. Come on, you can do better than that. He yelled to nobody in particular. He stood up and performed the hand seals for his Kaitenhausen no jutsu. Turning to his left, Sasuke fired fireballs from his mouth at the clump of bushes in that direction. A terrified yell broke out and a certain black-haired ninja came jumping out of the bushes, clutching his smoking butt. Stupid idiot, I wonder how he managed to graduate from the ninja academy, Sasuke thought as he shook his head hopelessly. He did not say it openly, but he thought that the team he was teaching was the worst of the batch. Little midgets couldn't even subsuit properly if I screamed at them, the fools. Only Konohamaru showed some potential, but even then, Sasuke knew not to get his hopes up. Kaitenhausenka. Isn't that a bit too harsh? Sasuke turned and did not seem surprised to see Kakashi crouching on ground beside him. Kakashi-sensei, what brings you to these parts? The Uchiha inquired. He would not let Kakashi lecture him on his teaching methods. The older Junin stood up and shoved his right hand in his pockets, searching. Sasuke could not help raise an eyebrow. What is it now? Kakashi fished out a sodden yellow envelope from his pocket and wordlessly gave it to Sasuke. The raven-haired Uchiha immediately recognized Naruto's handwriting, and eyes wide, tore open the envelope and pored over the letter's contents. Best if you don't worry about him. Kakashi said. He is all right, I know him as well as you do. Tell Shikamaru and the others of this. Otherwise Godai might not be so lenient. Sasuke felt his eyebrows twitch. So Tsunade was aware that they were looking for Naruto. Sasuke let his inky black eyes wander over the letter again. He cast a furtive look toward Kakashi's parting back. Sasuke crumpled up the letter in his fist. Poor forgery, Kakashi-sensei. Naruto never tells me he loves me. The Uchiha waited until Kakashi was out of sight. And then he turned to the seemingly empty landscape around him. Oi, 2-hour break for the three of you. And put some ointment onto that butt. So saying he turned on his heels and vanished as a blur. Naruto is back in Konoha. Godai and Kakashi, they're hiding him from us. If they think they can keep Konoha 9 from finding Naruto, they have to think again. Jiraiya planted his slippered foot onto the severed pine trunk before him. This place looks nice enough. Rest up, both of you. We still have a long way to go. So saying he whipped out a cigarette from his pockets and lighted it with his chakra. Naruto yawned and stretched his arms while Orochimaru folded his legs underneath him and sat down on the ground. The serpent reached up and pulled the stick that held his sleek hair into a twist, and his hair fell around him like a dark cloud. Naruto walked up to him and gave him a waterskin. Can I have a nap? Just for an hour, Orochimaru pleaded. I need rest, and my arms ache me. Jiraiya very nearly swallowed the cigarette he had been puffing on. He shot a look toward the blindfolded woman. She was breathing harshly, and the blindfold was wet in spots. Had she been crying? The frog hermit's gaze went downward to his former teammate's hands. There were spots of red there again, this time bigger than the last. He very nearly jumped when Orochimaru whimpered, and he gaped as he saw 2 distinct drops of tears fall from the pale cheeks and onto the bandaged hands. Oi, you okay? Jiraiya asked. He sounded concerned in spite of himself. Orochimaru nodded. I'm fine. I just need sleep. Jiraiya chewed his lower lip. I shouldn't pity the bastard. This tree trunk here looks fine enough, said Naruto. Over here, if you please. Orochimaru made his way toward Naruto and the blonde helped him settle down. Soon he was curled up beside the tree trunk, fast asleep. Oi, Naruto. Yah. Never lower your guard around Orochimaru. You will be surprised how good an actor, or actress, he can be. Naruto nodded. But she looks. It doesn't matter how she looks, Naruto. Jiraiya raised his voice. He grabbed the blonde by the shoulders. What matters is what she is, not what she was. You've faced her in countless battles, and by now you should have a shrewd measure of her capabilities. Do you understand me? Naruto looked up at Jiraiya and did not need to answer. 2 hours later and the three continued their journey, plunging deeper into the thick forests of southwestern Konoha, all the time nearing the tiny hamlet of Kikuyu. Jiraiya led the way through the dark and shadowy trees, keeping close to the river and staying high up in the canopy of trees, where the foliage was thickest. They were ninjas, and 2 of the 3 legendary Sannin nonetheless, but bandits were nuisances and fighting them would be called bullying instead. It was early evening when they arrived in Kikuyu, and the cicadas were only starting their nighttime singing, provided lights by countless specks of lights from fireflies. Naruto understood why Tsunade picked this place for them. There were no malls nor cinemas nor arcades, and there was only a single ramen house in the village. And even that one looked close to being swallowed whole by the earth. There were very few lights coming from tallow candles. We're staying in this place, Naruto said, his eyes narrowing, and his lower lip jutting out. This looks worse than the horror movie I saw 3 months ago, you know, that one with the well. Jiraiya pointed to the dark outline of a creepy-looking house that stood on a cliff that overlooked the village. That is where we'll be staying. Naruto swallowed. That old crone's house has electricity, right? And TV, food, PlayStation. As long as we have a decent toilet, everything else is fine with me. Orochimaru commented. You can't live on toilet alone. Naruto retorted in scandalized tones. Last time I was here, there were lights. Jiraiya said. Come on, keep up. He led the hike to the house. The path that led up to it was rocky and craggy, and was overgrown by weeds. And then they finally came to the porch. Jiraiya pushed the door open and went inside, careful to remove his slippers before stepping on the dusty and creaky tatami floors. For a moment the frog hermit fumbled along the walls, and light flicked alive. Orochimaru had finally removed his blindfold. So, this is where we'll be staying. he said in a hushed voice. Naruto's jaw could have dropped to the floor. But, he spluttered. Then he started flapping his arms. There is nothing in this house. We'll go crazy in a week. Shikamaru snorted with laughter as he reread what was supposed to be Naruto's letter to Sasuke. The ponytail sporting Junin cackled some more and had to cover his mouth with his left hand. Dearest friend Sasuke, sorry if I had not been able to write to you guys, but I am all right. I am undergoing a special training right now, and it had been on short notice, why I never had the chance to inform you. But rest assured I am okay. I will probably be back in Konoha with you guys, ready to jam, by April or May next year. Love lots, Naruto. Honestly, Shikamaru choked out in between gasps of hilarity. Do they honestly think we're so dense so as not to see through this obviously pathetic piece of copying? I will probably be back in Konoha with you guys, ready to jam. Since when did Naruto learn how to jam? Does he even know the word exists? Sasuke was frowning and did not look happy. I know Naruto's here in Konoha somewhere. They're hiding him from us. And if you ask me, my guts tell me our friend's never been in a special training whatsoever. He might have been sent on an A-class mission. Shikamaru said thoughtfully. But that can't be. Nobody sends shinobi on an A-class mission all alone. That would be the peak of madness. Mayhap I think our foxy little friend caused a lot of mess. Sasuke shook his head. Not mess. He'd still be able to see us even if he's on a penance. I know Naruto well. This has got to be a mission. But who else was sent with him? To what aim was this mission thought up for? Maybe he eloped with someone. Chuji piped up through a mouthful of potato chips. Shikamaru and Sasuke looked at him in perfect unison. Sasuke's eyes were so big they could have popped out of his head, while Shikamaru was laughing heartily as he clutched his belly. Chuji, you big idiot, what made you say that? Shikamaru chortled. Naruto, elope. Well, I pity the blind girl who went with him then. Naruto doesn't even know how to court properly. What a weird thing to say. Then his face returned to its normal serious expression. He ran a hand through his brow. TCH, so troublesome. Sasuke blinked. Did Kiba and Neji return already? Chuji nodded, his double chins wobbling. Well, I met Kiba on the way here. He said he had to go back and inform his mother first that he's back. He'll be with us shortly, I expect. As for Neji, the fat Junin shrugged. Hinata is getting worried. She confronted me last night and told me that we should find Neji. She's having trouble inventing all sorts of lies for excuses. Sooner or later the whole Hyuga clan would be searching for him. I wonder what happened to him, though. He isn't the type of ninja who has a poor sense of direction. He's right. Sasuke nodded. I'm getting anxious with all of this. We need some help on the search. Stupid Tsunade, assigning me a bunch of losers to teach. I could have found Naruto by now and dragged him back here by his collar if you ask me. Shikamaru turned to Sasuke. Losers. The Uchiha only rolled his eyes. Don't ask. Suffice it to say that it'd be a miracle if they even make it to the Chunin exams. Shikamaru only grinned. He was just about to speak when Hitaki Kakashi rounded the corner and was walking straight toward them. Sasuke coughed and shoved his hands into his pockets and averted his gaze. Chuji busied himself with his chips, leaving Shikamaru to confront the older Junin. Yo, Kakashi. Kakashi stopped and blinked, as if only realizing they were standing in his way. He tilted his head in a peculiar manner and looked at them all beadily, especially Sasuke. The Uchiha frowned back. Funny, Kakashi commented. Where are Naruto, Kiba and Neji? Sasuke coughed once more and walked some distance away. Shikamaru peered up at Kakashi. Something was fishy here. Kiba is back in their house, doing some chores. Neji, on the other hand, is with Hinata. We don't know where Naruto is. Shouldn't you be the one telling us of his whereabouts? Kakashi paused and blinked. You don't know where Naruto is. Are you deaf? Sasuke snapped. Shikamaru shot him a warning glare. Kakashi straightened up and fixed them all with a sharp gaze before walking on, hands in his pockets. He vanished as he went into the next street. Shikamaru started scratching his chin. Hitaki Kakashi certainly is funny today. He said. First he gives us a letter supposedly written by Naruto, and now he asks us where that fox is. Sasuke wordlessly followed Kakashi, but when he rounded the same street, the Junin was nowhere to be seen. He knew that sharp glare. How could he forget? The man who had recently talked to them was not Hatake Kakashi. Naruto, you great bumbling idiot, what mess have you created now? Sasuke whispered to himself. Tsunade was getting frustrated, and it was not good news if she reached the end of her patience because she tended to destroy tables and walls. She bit the other end of her pen really hard before scratching out the note she had just written on a chakra chart. Stupid thing. She cursed. Blasted piece of a failed technique. Aggh. She reached for a tattered notebook that lay atop thick books about chakra control. She flipped open the yellow pages carefully and pored over the neat handwriting on them. It was the same notebook Naruto read the chakra link technique from. Yondaime Hokage's notebook. I have recently discovered a technique involving a surprisingly low amount of chakra. It works in a most peculiar way, I suppose, because it enables me to link with another ninja. I find it will be most useful in missions that involve tag teams. However, this technique has some peculiar side effects. If I trip and smash my face on a rock, heaven forbid, the same thing happens to the ninja I am linked with, 3 times in magnitude. What may be tolerable pain for me might not be so tolerable for him. I have also found out that I cannot move too far from the one I am linked with, because the link somehow contracts and pulls us together. Suffice it to say that this is a nice way to get concussions. No, I am babbling. A Hokage shouldn't be babbling. Now, the link is done. Tsunade's eyes flashed as she the notebook shut. She had read through all 5 pages of the note for the 4th time, but still she could not find out any solution whatsoever. Yondaime Hokage took his liberty to discuss the funny and psychotic effects of this linking. Conveniently forgetting to write down how he dissolved it, Tsunade surmised that Yondaime Hokage had linked with someone before. Drat, if only she could find out who the person is. And then, she'd have to worry if the person was alive still, or was already 6 feet under the ground, heaven forbid, indeed. If it was so, she could always follow Jiraiya and the others in Kikuyu and ask Orochimaru to revive the person so they could ask questions, but no, the damn snake would just refuse point blank. Orochimaru had never been the helpful type, and he did love it when she was annoyed. The Godime huffed and reopened the notebook. She flipped over to the 3rd page, where Yondaime had been engrossed into discussing the wilder effects of his linking technique. I do not know if I can call this link pleasant or troublesome. It is pleasant because it deepens certain bonds of friendship between you and the one you are linked with. It does develop the tendency to protect each other from whatever harm. However, if you are linked with the opposite I am glad I did not do so, things start to get very frustrating. The baths, for one example. But even then, something scares me. While whatever happens to me reflects back into the ninja I had linked with, the link in time opened for me a window to the other's thoughts and emotions. I get annoyed when he gets annoyed. Sometimes I just laugh even though there is nothing funny in front of me. I believe this induces psychosis. I must sever the link soon. Tsunade felt a chill down her spine. I believe this induces psychosis. Heaven and hell both forbid, the link induces madness. She stood up and started pacing her study, biting her enameled nails while seemingly unaware of doing it. The longer the link remained, the scarier the effects, that much she knows now. Opens a window to the other's thoughts and emotions. Naruto, knowing what goes on in Orochimaru's foul mind. That could be useful, but still. There was a knock, and Tsunade was roused out of her thoughts, much to her annoyance. Who is it? She shouted. Didn't I tell you nobody should bother me this morning? Hokage-sama, said a timid voice that Tsunade immediately recognized. It's me, Sakura. The blonde woman shut her eyes in annoyance before sweeping all her charts and notes back into her drawer with one move of her hand. All right, enter. The door creaked open and Sakura went inside. Tsunade took a moment to examine her student, now of Chunin rank, of course. What do you want now? Tsunade snapped. She did not want to vent out her spleen on anybody, but it was Sakura's fault she decided to butt in now. Make it quick. Sasuke-kun wants to. Sakura began lamely. Tell him no. Tsunade snarled. She pointed to the door. And get out of this room or I will make you. Out. Sakura looked close to tears but left anyway. Tsunade sat back down and pulled out her charts and notebooks. I can't resume your lessons until I solve this problem I have right now, Sakura-chan, I hope you understand that. The fifth opened the notebook again and pored over the last page of Yondime's notes about the chakra link. The link has been enjoyable and troublesome in equal measure. However, I do not want the ninja who reads this now to try it merely because he finds himself curious or have been made wanting to experience the same things I have noted here. Let me warn you that it is not easy. It is dangerous, potentially lethal, even. Do not be misguided by my rants and brawls, no matter how exciting I made it sound. It certainly is not so. But even then, if somebody does dare to repeat this stupidity after me, read and understand my words well, whoever you are. The link can be severed in the most obvious way. That was it, honestly. In the next pages Yondime had been ranting of his problems about Konoha and some other techniques not worth mentioning. Tsunade growled in frustration as she read and reread the last sentence to herself. The link can be severed in the most obvious way. What obvious way was it? Of course Orochimaru had tried everything possible, he was not stupid, but then, why were he and Naruto still linked? Tsunade thought that the fourth was wise and possibly the greatest ninja Konoha ever produced, but all of that changed now. Now she thought the fourth was a stupid, shambling idiot who liked to leave riddles even after his death. Tsunade returned to her chakra points chart and scrawled furiously on it. Naruto would have tried to sever the link too. His skull might be dense most of the time, but then, he was quick to rectify his mistakes if he realized them. But then, the fact remained that the link was still intact. What on earth could ever sever it? Before Jiraiya led Naruto and Orochimaru into hiding, she had interviewed the blonde Junin. Naruto did say he could no longer see the linking. If he could no longer see it, how could he sever it? Orochimaru refused to speak, though Tsunade felt he did try doing something about it. She flipped back some pages on the fourth's notebook. More importantly, the link, once it is in place, can only be seen by people who have the Byakugan. Tsunade thought very hard. Byakugan, she might ask for help from Neji or Hinata on this. She sighed and returned to her chart, scrawling notes and ideas, and then scratching them out anyway. If ever she did break the link, Naruto was far from having a good time afterward. Kabuto found everything peculiar. He expected that by now, Konoha would have put up Orochimaru's face in a poster and plastered it on anything that stood still long enough. Konoha would have loved to gloat on such a major victory. He was even surprised that the people seemed to know nothing about the capture of the Sound's master. Everything made it look that Orochimaru was still alive, if not kept in prison. That alone was enough to ease Kabuto's thoughts and breathing. He would never have forgiven himself if he'd arrived and saw his master's head on a pike. He sat down on a bench, now sporting the appearance of a boy he had come across earlier. It was too dangerous masquerading around as Hitaki Kakashi. Sasuke very nearly caught him back there. But that helped Kabuto, even for a bit. Kakashi obviously knew something about why Greater Konoha was still unaware of their history's capture. Tsunade was up to something. Or else she wouldn't have kept her victory quiet. Did it by chance go messy? He was not even sure if Naruto was here. He had expected that by bumping into Sasuke and the others he would know where Naruto was, but he was disappointed in that department. Even the idiot's friends knew nothing. Hell, they did not even appear to know that Naruto had been sent on an A-class mission all alone. If I solve this mystery, I will find Orochimaru-sama. Kabuto said to himself. I must get to work quickly. He stood up and went to the nearest ramen house he could find. Thinking was all very well, but he needed food. Orochimaru thought he had already poked his head into every nook and cranny of what was supposed to be a house. He found no sign of food, not even a moldy crumb of bread. Somewhere Jiraiya had managed to unearth several futons, pillows and blankets. Naruto had been overjoyed to find a TV, but then kicked it anyway because it turned out to be broken. He himself had checked the toilet of course, it was wide and clean albeit dusty, and he was extremely relieved to find the heating system still worked. But apart from that, the brat was right. He could not live on a decent toilet alone. Anything there? Said Naruto's voice. Orochimaru drew away from the empty cupboard he had opened and shook his head. There is nothing here. We can hope to buy some food down in the village, if you like. Naruto pouted some more and folded his hands across his chest. His eyes were presently narrowed into annoyed slits. I knew that old crone had nothing here. It was stupid of me to expect anything else, really. Orochimaru blinked slowly and touched his belly. It was churning like mad. You're hungry. Damn right I am. Naruto replied angrily. We really should buy something. He turned on his heels and cupped his hands around his mouth. Oi, perverted hermit. We need money now. Cough up. And then he returned to Orochimaru. You cough up too. I only have a few bills here. And he started searching his pockets. While Orochimaru tried to see if he had anything with him, Jiraiya joined them, frowning. He gave 3 coins to Naruto. Don't be a stingy bastard. Naruto complained. I know you have more than this. That is all I have with me, don't complain. Jiraiya replied easily. Orochimaru paused. I haven't any money, Naruto. What? Naruto burst out. You're one of the legendary Sannin and the leader of the Sound, and you have no money. The snake felt a vein throb on his forehead. It's not my fault if I forgot my purse when you captured me, stupid idiot. And being a Sannin does not necessarily mean you're rich. Naruto puffed out his cheeks angrily and glared at him and Jiraiya. People here are so useless. That was all, and he stomped out of the house. Orochimaru felt the familiar pain blossom in his chest, and he had no choice but to follow Naruto outside. He could not believe that he was here, stuck in a stupid house with stupid Naruto and stupid Jiraiya, and he could not do anything about it. He laughed hysterically. Now he must be going mad. Not a happy thought at all. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.